Hey everybody, so this is the vocab for the rest of the packet for our second science unit, Earth Materials, and most of the stuff has to do with rocks or aspects of how rocks are formed or broken down. So some of this will sound familiar, probably from last year. Just as a reminder, minerals are not rocks, right? Minerals was in our previous vocabulary word. Let's see if I can switch screens really quick for you. Right? Minerals are a naturally occurring inorganic solid with a crystalline structure. And rocks are made of combinations of minerals. We'll be talking about that as we enter this last section of our reader. So you should do these in any way that works for you. You can pause me and copy what you need. And now let me do this. Hold on one second. Let me try this. Just a second. Okay, cool. I want to be able to do this. All right, so first definition is rocks. Rocks are mixed mineral matter that makes up the surface of Earth and other terrestrial objects. You'll learn with Mrs. Gustafson about this root terra. I don't think you have yet. You'll learn about how that actually means Earth. So I'm just going to highlight that for you. Okay, so here's a nice little picture of rocks. Remember to pause me and copy and do what you need to do. Igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are a category of rock formed when hot liquid rock, either lava or magma, cools into a solid. This is the kind of rock that comes from volcanoes. Sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock. Rock formed from layers of sand, soil, clay, gravel, and other sediment that built up in one spot over time. So you know a sedimentary rock, it has layers. Or it looks like stuff that gets stuck together. Kind of like cement. We'll talk more about that in class. And the third category of rock is called metamorphic rock. These are rocks formed in chemical reactions where one type of rock is changed by pressure or heat into a new type of rock with different properties. I see this is a really big definition. You might need to spread it out on your lines. I think you actually have more space on your paper than I have in my spot right here. So feel free to space this out better for yourself. So we'll be talking about how these different types of rocks can be changed into each other when we talk about the rock cycle. This is the processes that form, break down, and reform rocks from one category to another. So like I mentioned in class today, rocks can actually be melted. We just don't get to see that in our real life, but they can be melted and turned into another kind of rock or pressed and squeezed into a different kind of rock. Remember, pause me as you go so you can write everything down. And the last one for this screen is the word weathering. Now, I think you probably heard weathering and erosion last year. They go hand in hand. Weathering is the breaking down of rock into smaller pieces from exposure to wind, water, changes in temperature, and or biological forces. There's two kinds, and we're going to talk about mechanical and chemical. We'll be actually doing our lab about mechanical weathering next week. So I'm going to need to switch screens, okay? So we can talk about the difference between weathering, the breaking down, and erosion, the taking away. Oh, I think erosion got forgotten. Hold on one second. My bad, actually, it was just in a different type of part of the screen. Okay, so the next word in your packet is the word abrasion. This is a type of mechanical weathering that occurs when rocks and sediment grind against each other. So when like wind, really, really strong wind, obviously keeps hitting sand against a rock, it can break that rock down over time. Mechanical weathering itself, which we'll be doing our lab on, is weathering that occurs when rocks are broken down by physical force without any change in their chemical structure. So it's still the same kind of rock, it's just broken down by some kind of force. This would be different than chemical weathering. Chemical weathering is weathering that occurs when chemical reactions change the composition of rocks, rearranging the atoms or molecules into new substances with different properties. Now we know that from the definition for chemical reaction, right, from term 1, that if the atoms of the elements that make up the minerals, that make up the rocks are rearranged, then they're going to form a whole new kind of substance. I think we only have two left. Erosion, which I think you did pretty heavily last year in 4th grade. Weathering is the breaking down. Erosion is the taking away. So erosion is the transport of sediment, like little bits of rock or sand or whatever, by wind, water, or gravity. So keep that in mind. Weathering is the breaking down. Erosion or eroding is the taking away. And our last definition that we need to have for the rest of this unit is the word system or systems. This is a set of connected, interacting parts that form a more complex whole. So in this case, we're going to talk about all these different pieces that make a rock cycle, or how the rock cycle affects other parts of life here on Earth. So, 5th graders, those are the rest of the words. Thanks for taking your time to do those and having them done by Friday. You can certainly do them all at once and get them over with tonight, or do a little bit tonight and a little bit tomorrow night, and a little bit on Thursday night. But if you have a lot going on this week, budget your time and get it all done at once. And feel free to show me your packet is done at school, and I'll check you off that it's all set. Mrs. PPTV signing off.